What's up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of That Dynasty Show. As always, I'm your host, Mikey Ostrowski, joined by my good friend Tyler Beck. Tyler, today we are going into one of those subscriber submissions that we've been doing. I believe this is our third one. So shout out to Duncan Donut from our Discord server. Sent us his team, and we're going to be taking a look at it in a few minutes here. But before we get into it, Tyler, how's it going, man? It's been at least what 2-3 days since I talked to you. It's too long.
Yeah, it's been a couple days, but I'm good. I'm excited to talk about this team. It's a good team. I just want to say I appreciate the support from all our viewers. We hit a total of like 1,100 views today, so we're pretty amped about that. We just got have a couple videos now that are over 100 views, and we're getting like 2 subscribers a video. So we're really happy about that, and we just want to say thanks to everyone who's been supporting.
Yeah, it's been awesome. We started this channel with the hopes of obviously, we want to reach people. We want everyone to watch and subscribe to our stuff, but it's more or less it was for me and you, right? We talk about Dynasty so often. We were like, hey, let's put a camera on us and just see what happens. So it's been a ton of fun, and I'm going to repeat exactly what Tyler said. Thanks for sticking along with us and watching our videos, liking, comment, subscribing, and submitting your teams like this. So we'll go ahead and jump right on into it. So he says it's a 10-team super flex, 0.5 PPR, and you start 9. So let me go ahead and share this screen here, and we're going to go through it piece by piece here, Tyler, because the zoom is either 0 or 100 on my computer right now. So I figured, you know what, this is a good way to look at it. We'll just go one by one straight down the list, and we'll talk about the team. I wish we could group the quarterbacks together because, he's got some on his bench too. So his bench quarterbacks, we have Drew Lock and Deshaun Watson. He does not have a quarterback in his super flex spot. So it's just Watson and Drew Lock. And then he's got Trey Lance here at quarterback. So I'm I'm not too pumped with this quarterback room, if I'm being entirely honest with you. But before, I want everyone to know that this guy does have 5 2023 firsts, right? So anything that we say in this video, it's going to be backed up by knowing that these 23 firsts are on the horizon here, right? With that being said, I am very nervous for this quarterback room. And you'll probably be able to address one, if not two quarterbacks in the 23 draft with all those draft picks. But Deshaun Watson, we don't know what his suspension is going to be. Drew Lock, we don't know if he'll be able to hold a starting job for Seattle. Plus, there's rumors of Jimmy Garoppolo potentially going to Seattle. So if that happens, Drew Lock is essentially rendered useless again. And then Trey Lance, we're kind of just playing speculation with him. And Tyler, I'm interested to hear your thoughts on Trey Lance because I'm one of those people where I want to see some proven commodity first before I start paying, the big bucks to get a guy like Trey Lance. We've only seen him start, I believe, 2 games, and it's just a lot of speculation with him right now. So what are you thinking about Trey Lance as a starter right now?
I think that it's appealing because he was the third overall pick or something like that a
Yeah.
year ago. Um, and he's got a lot of rushing upside, so he's going to get an opportunity to play, and he's going to be able to produce for you. As I don't necessarily love him as my QB1. But then you have Deshaun Watson too, who will come back next year. So I know you said you're in a rebuild, but with all the draft capital that he has, I wouldn't mind even going out and spending a third round rookie pick, a second round rookie pick on, go hit up whoever owns Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers in your league. I mean, just fill that gap and have Trey Lance as your QB too. I don't think it even necessarily this team really needs to rebuild from that standpoint. I think you can compete this year.
Yeah, and I was going to say the same thing. So I know we kind of jumped right into the quarterbacks without actually looking at the entire team first. Obviously you and I took a look at it before we hopped on this video here, but this is not a rebuilding team. I know the user says this is a rebuilding team, but it doesn't need to be at all, right? Brees Hall and J.K. Dobbins, although I'm not too, pumped about either of them this season, I know that there are a lot of people are. Tyler loves Brees Hall. Most of Twitter right now is in love with J.K. Dobbins. And if both of those guys hit their ceiling, that's at worst, 2 top 20 running backs right there.
Yeah, and
Eight.
I
Oh,
think
go
that
ahead.
my bad. I think that like the running back room is solid enough to where I can definitely see a world where they're both top 24 options, and it's not gonna kill your chances. I mean, if I'm gonna be weak anywhere, like I can see it happening where one of those two guys ends up being a top 12 running back. And if I'm gonna be weak in one spot, I'm gonna make it my RB2 spot probably.
Yeah,
Um,
you're a big believer in having a weak RB2 spot because it kind of enhances the rest of your roster. It is worth noting that the only backup running back on this roster is Chuba Hubbard. So, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't send the farm to grab another running back or anything like that, but you could theoretically hold on just with Brees Hall and J.K. Dobbins in your RB1, RB2 spot each week. And then if you are in a position where you are contending, you could always trade for a running back later on down the line. I don't think there's any need to go into the 2022 season saying, hey, this team's in a full rebuild, because it's really not. That the assets are young, but you also have, the win now young assets. Like as we keep scrolling, AJ Brown, DK Metcalf, T. Higgins, and Chris Godwin. That's a hell of a starting four for your wide receivers right there. I mean, worst case scenario, you're getting top 25 seasons from AJ Brown and DK Metcalf. T. Higgins is also going to be in the top 20, top 25. And Chris Godwin, when he comes back from injury, we know that he can perform as a top 5 PPR wide receiver. So there's no reason to think that you're not going to win a handful of games just based off of your receiver group alone.
yeah, so I don't think rebuilding and like tanking, looking to go get Bijan makes sense here when really he's 2 second-round picks he could trade from being a death by a thousand cuts type of team. You could trade a second-round pick and probably go get someone like Aaron Jones or even like Derrick Henry. If Derrick Henry owner isn't competing this year, like he's got to get rid of him. See if maybe a second or two gets you a Derrick Henry for the year. And then go on with Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers, any of those guys, Matt Stafford, I'd be happy with any of them. You could also buy a piece like Allen Robinson, even because we know Chris Godwin might miss some time. Um, I don't know. Adam Schefter said that he might be coming back week one. I heard other reports that it might be even later than we originally anticipated. But
We
yeah, it
don't know
looks like.
anything. Yeah, nobody knows anything about that injury right now. It's between Chris Godwin, and we're not going to have a real answer on that until training camp starts, I don't think.
Yeah, but when I want to build teams, the way I really want to determine if I'm a contender or not is how many advantages do I have like in each spot, right? So at QB1 right now, I don't think Trey Lance is a positional advantage as a QB1. I
Hmm.
think Brees Hall, J.K. Dobbins could be potentially. Either way, I mean, you're getting two guys that could be top 24 guys, or probably will be a likelihood. They're going to get a lot of volume, those guys. And then you get A.J. Brown, D.K. Metcalf, T. Higgins, and Chris Godwin. I mean, if you could tell me that I need one of them to finish in the top 12, one in the top 24, one top 36, and one top 48, I feel to be a competing team, I feel like I really have a lot of positional advantages here that I might as well just spend the late draft capital, hold on to my firsts, and go out and try to compete and win. I mean, he's got 2 seconds next year, and so he doesn't have one in 2024. But I mean, he can trade his 2025 picks in this league. I'm not really a proponent of trading like 2025 picks, but a second round pick to me isn't really anywhere near as valuable when you can go out and win.
Yeah, I agree. So yes, to answer the main question on this team will be better in the future because obviously having 5 picks in 2023 is fucking awesome. But it's not. This is not a rebuilding team. This is a team that can definitely go out there and win now. Shallow at quarterback, shallow at running back, but your starters are solid enough. Talking about the positional value, right? You said Trey Lance. Don't love him as a QB1, but I think we can both agree as a QB2, you could do a lot worse. Trey Lance, if he actually is the starter for San Francisco, and it's probably a 90% chance that he will be for week one. Trey Lance has he's got a great receiving core around him, but two, he's also got the rushing upside. So he could essentially be, if he's starting every game, he has this year's Jalen Hurts written all over him, right? A guy that's going to throw for maybe like 3,500 yards, give or take, and have 700 or 800 yards on the ground. That's exactly what you're getting in Trey Lance. That is definitely big upside, but the floor is also, a mediocre QB2, bottom QB2 kind of guy with Trey Lance. So I'd be a lot more comfortable if he was my QB2. Speaking of which, you kind of don't really have a QB2 at this moment in time. I know we don't know the severity of Deshaun Watson's suspension, but we know that he is going to be suspended. We know that there's going to be probably at least half of the season, I would say, where you're not going to have him available. And then Drew Lock is going to have one of the shortest leashes at the quarterback position in the entire NFL this year. So it's difficult, right? I think you could probably go out and get a half decent deal, like you were saying, Tyler, on a guy like Tom Brady, a guy like Matt Ryan, one of those older guys. Aaron Rodgers is another example. I don't think they're going to cost you an arm and a leg, even in a super flex format like this. And if you were able to put in Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady in your QB1 spot, Trey Lance in your super flex spot, that completely transforms this roster into probably being a top 4. If this is a 10 team, probably being a top 4 roster in your league at that point.
Yeah, and I think at that point, I know he traded for his first round pick back because he doesn't have a quarterback. But I mean, if you go buy one, I mean, hell, you might as well trade that first round pick away. And if you really want to, you could probably upgrade from AJ Brown or DK Metcalf. Because I mean, I know both of them really aren't in amazing spots, but I mean, I'm comfortable with them being my top 4 in my top 4. If that's a move that's something you don't like, then that's something you could maybe upgrade to Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, something like that. T Higgins, or well, I guess it doesn't already have T Higgins actually.
Yeah, he's got T Higgins. I mean, for most people, right? T Higgins is a top 5 dynasty asset. DK Metcalf at worst is top 15 in the worst rankings. AJ Brown is at worst top 12 in most rankings. Drake London is probably in the top 15 to top 18 for most people. So I mean, this is a good team, and it's a good young team. Like, it's really good, honestly. I think you should go for it this year. I think you should hold on to as many 23 firsts as you can. Try to calculate which ones are going to be the better picks next year, and obviously hold on to those. Prioritize dealing away those later ones. But with how young this team is, right? You have young running backs, you have young receivers, you have Trey Lance, who's very young, you have TJ Hawkinson, who's very young. You could afford to trade away your seconds, like Tyler was saying. You could afford to trade away 1, maybe even 2 of your 23 firsts and skyrocket yourself into, that top 3 position in this league. So whatever you're doing, you are doing a good job for sure. This is a very good looking team, great future outlook, but I don't think you're giving it enough credit. I think you could definitely compete this year. We did get some trades though. So let me go ahead and share those.
While you pull those up, one thing we didn't mention is Calvin Ridley on his IR too. If he comes back next year and produces like we know he can, that really, really, really stacks up your room. I mean, I wouldn't even mind going out and if he starts producing, shipping off your 24 first for another piece next year too. I mean, you could be a legit team for a long time. I mean, his oldest starter is Chris Godwin right now, who's 26. So,
yeah, that ain't too bad.
You've got 5 years of winning ahead of you, and that's if you totally dud out on every one of those first round picks that you have.
All right, so we both agree this is a good team, and the owner's not giving it the credit that it deserves. So thank you for submitting this. This is a really good roster. I'm having a lot of fun with this. Give yourself more credit, man. You're doing good. You're doing very good. So let's take a look at some of these trades. So our buddy Dunkin' Donut here sent us 3 trades that he has made in the process of building this team that we're looking at. So the first one, and it looks like, see, now this is where I'm just a little confused. I guess he received, because he has T Higgins and Chris Godwin on his team, and T Higgins is not anywhere else in here. So I don't know if this is an older trade or what. So I'm a little confused on that, but we'll still take a look at it here. So it looks like initially you had sent away T Higgins, Antonio Gibson, undrafted rookie Justin Ross, and a 23 third, which is not very, too important for me. Um, it's How do you feel about this trade, Tyler?
So when I look at it, I'm looking at it looks like clearly a team is trying to get younger. The Sen side is definitely trying to get younger. I was just gonna pull up Sleeper to see because the format always makes me confused when I look at these trades too. I never really know who's sending
Well,
them.
it looks like Dunkin' Donut sends away T. Higgins, Antonio Gibson, Justin Ross in the 23rd, and he receives the Thielen, Cook, Godwin, and Madison side. I'm just a little confused because I know T. Higgins is on the roster now, so I'm just not
So,
sure.
so is Chris Godwin too.
Yeah, so
Uh,
I mean, maybe he traded for him back, and it's a trade that he has included on here.
Yeah.
But either way, looking at it, um, if you're competing this year and you need a running back, I don't love trading away T. Higgins at all. But if you're getting Dalvin Cook and Alexander Madison, you're getting that entire Minnesota backfield. And let's say you're not hurting for young receivers like T. Higgins. I would take that as an acceptable trade. It's personally not my favorite with Dalvin Cook aging, but it's a win now move, and I totally understand locking down Minnesota's backfield. For the cost of T. Higgins. I personally would take Chris Godwin over Antonio Gibson straight up in a trade. So definitely no fault on that. And then if I'm a contender, I'm definitely taking Thielen and Justin Ross over the 23 third round pick. So I think the receive side here does edge out. I think it's very close, but it's kind of one of those win-win trades, right? Like I think if the object for the T. Higgins side is to get younger and to get good assets, I think they did just that. And the receive side, they clearly want to do a win now in this situation. And I think this side wins the trade for just that. So it's a fairly balanced trade, I would say.
Yeah, when you look at it, I mean, I would take T. Higgins over Thielen and Cook, the combination of those two probably. I would also, but then I would take Godwin over, Gibson. I mean, Justin Ross in the third, we're really not looking at. Madison's really barely even a piece in this. So I mean, it is.
Madison is only good in this trade because Dalvin Cook's involved. That's the only
Yeah,
reason why he
of course.
matters in this trade for sure.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you get the premium handcuff and the insurance policy basically. I mean, he's taking up a roster spot, but yeah, I mean, fairly balanced, I would say, on that one.
Yeah, I lean. It's good for both sides, right? So I think we can move on from that one. The next one here. So it looks like you immediately flipped Dalvin Cook, and I gotta be honest, I'm not in love with this one personally. Um, So I look at it in a couple of different ways. I think the send side is definitely the side that I would rather have. If I'm in a completely full rebuild, then maybe I understand getting the Drake London 23 first side. But still, this just doesn't seem like enough value to me. Jamar Chase is going in non-super flex format. He is going number one overall in some leagues. If not, he's going top three. In super flex leagues, he is consistently in the top seven. Um, I love the 23 class just as much as anyone else, but getting two random picks in the 23 class for Jamar Chase just doesn't seem like peak value, and Jamar Chase is definitely worth more than that. Um, you could argue and say, well, what if we add AJ Dillon to just the Jamar Chase side? It evens out a little bit. But I'm still leaning Jamar Chase. I don't think that there's any combination of picks or of the receive side that makes sense to me for Jamar Chase. And adding Dalvin Cook on top of that, it's just it seems like you did not get the type of value that you could have gotten in this trade.
No, and if you're getting the other team's first round pick next year, you're actually getting even worse value because them having Dalvin Cook and Jamar Chase on their team is going to be very good for their team. Of course, it's
Yeah.
value of that team, and if they're willing to give up 223 first, then odds are this team is probably competing right now. Yeah, like you said, I don't think. I mean, I would take Drake London over Dalvin Cook You wouldn't be able to send me Dalvin Cook for the 102 this year and just walk away with it. But on the other hand, yeah, Jamar Chase is worth 3 first-round picks at least, and I just I don't see this getting me there, especially in a 10-man league, start 9, where you really need those like studs to try and win. You know.
Yeah, and that's another thing that I wanted to bring up too. The smaller your league, the more important studs are, right? Like if you're in a 12, a 14, or a 16 team league, there are people that are forced into starting every week, like guys like Darius Slayton or Sterling Shepard, something like that. And in those ones, it's never a bad idea to take as much depth as possible, especially if one injury happens in a league that big, you're kind of screwed. But in those smaller leagues, everyone has a good team. Everyone has a good team because there is less competition to have those guys on your roster. And you really need, as Tyler was alluding to earlier, you need those positional advantages. And that's what Jamar Chase is. And even though it's only short term, that's what Dalvin Cook is as well. When he's healthy, he is a top 5 running back, even at the age that he is now. So it doesn't seem like good value. I love the fact that you do have 223 first. I love the fact that you got Drake London. He does have a very high ceiling. And then AJ Dillon he's the other running back in Green Bay. I guess he's still good, but not necessarily what I would call, an RB1 upside kind of guy. I don't know. It's not terrible. It's not terrible, but I just think he could have gotten better value.
If you look at it like he's trying to get younger from Dalvin Cook to AJ Dillon, which is clearly what he's trying to do, and I mean, I guess like that's okay. You're getting like 3 or 4 years younger, but you're not getting anywhere near the kind of production. You're tearing down to and getting younger, basically. You're not like moving laterally and getting younger. And then I mean, I guess you could look at it like Drake London and 223 first for Jamar Chase. I mean, that's probably the most you're going to be able to get for Jamar Chase is the 102 and 223 firsts in most cases. But the gap between AJ Dillon and Dalvin Cook, yeah, any way you combine it to try and make it look good, I'm just not really.
Yeah, it just doesn't get me there. But hey, you know what? There are plenty of worse trades. It's still half decent value, but I just
Yeah, it's not like a total robbery, you know. Where it's
yeah, like
really,
I would have preferred to got higher value for Jamar Chase, and personally, I would have waited until in season to trade Dalvin Cook, right? Because aging dynasty running backs, their peak value is always in the middle of the season when people need those guys to perform. Because Dalvin Cook is going to turn 27 in August, I believe. And as soon as his profile says 27, he is instantly less valuable to people who play dynasty football. And the only time you're going to get peak value is when he's scoring 25 plus points a game. So for future, if I have a guy like that, I'm probably holding until the season. But we'll move on to this last trade here. And this one, Ty, I'm going to let you talk about this one. So he trades away Madison and Dillon, who he received in other trades. And that's fine because those guys, Alexander Madison, he's nothing but a handcuff. AJ Dillon, he's a really good RB2 in that offense and a low end RB2 with a little bit of upside in Dynasty. But he traded away Pat Mahomes. Now, he got your boy Brees Hall. He got DK Metcalf. And if you are a believer in Trey Lance, this seemingly looks like an okay trade. What are your initial thoughts when you see this one? Because anytime someone deals away Pat Mahomes, everyone's ears perk up in Superflex.
Yeah, so when I looked at this the first time, I mean, the glaring thing obviously is tearing down from Mahomes to Trey Lance. I mean, I think it's really risky for a guy that we haven't seen play a complete season when we know Patrick Mahomes has a $500 million contract, you know.
Yeah.
But as you look at it, I mean, I don't expect Trey Lance to be anything worse than perennial, like, top 15 quarterback. So he can work when you look at it from you're going to like the best overall quarterback to a serviceable QB2, and then you're getting such a big upgrade from Madison and Dillon to DK and Brees Hall. I I can kind of get on board with this one. I mean, you're turning Pat Mahomes into three starting pieces. If you're gonna trade away Mahomes, I can see why this one was attractive.
Yeah, and I don't hate this one either. And my initial reaction was, oh man, Pat Mahomes side for sure. But then you really start looking into it, and DK Metcalf is a fantastic option. Brees Hall, even though I'm not his biggest fan, I can still acknowledge that he's very likely a top 10 dynasty running back between age, situation, skill set. And then Trey Lance, if he's just so risky because his floor could be nothing. Like there are occasionally reports coming out of San Francisco, especially when they were doing their mini camp last month, that Trey Lance was having issues. He was struggling with XYZ. So we'll have to see how training camp goes. I don't I don't love the risk of trading away a bona fide top 3 dynasty pick with Pat Mahomes and tearing down, like you said, to Trey Lance. But I get it. And I think even though it's risky, I think I actually do lean the Metcalf, Lance, and Hall side.
Yeah, I mean, you're just getting such an upgrade from those other two pieces. I mean, because Madison and AJ Dillon are really. I mean, I don't view AJ Dillon as a guy I want to really value very high on my roster. I don't mind trading him away. I don't think he's going to be a guy that you need to hold on your roster or even really. It's not going to help your team all that much more than the next guy. I don't see anything special with AJ Dillon at all. Like I know a lot of other people do. But I mean, like you said, DK is just such a great option. And I mean, Brees Hall got the capital. I think he's going to be in the league for a long time. I mean, I think he'll be productive until we look at these Dalvin Cook guys, and I mean, he's got the size to be productive until he's, 27, 28. So, I think this definitely was probably one of the moves that, put his roster in both in the spot to be able to go out and buy a quarterback and compete, and also rebuild in the sense because you're losing Patrick Mahomes for Trey Lance.
Yeah, I completely agree. This is definitely the trade that kind of put you on those crossroads, right? Of potential rebuilder to also potential contender. So yeah, I mean overall, dude, very good roster. I'm glad you submitted this one because it was very interesting to go over. There are not many rosters that are built like this. And obviously we could say that about almost any dynasty roster that we see, but this one is truly unique in the sense that it could contend despite how young it is. And as much as I would like people to hold on to their 23 first, you have so many. And you have already good assets pretty much in almost every position that you have. Um, you could start trading away a couple of those and like be a legitimate contender this year. So weird situation, but a good situation. I promise. It's a very good situation to be in.
Yeah, I don't think there's a great chance that all 5 of those 2023 first that he takes next year end up in his starting lineup for a long time. Looking at what he's already got, it's going to be hard for all 4 of or all 5 of those guys to end up being perennial top 10 guys like most of the guys that he has on his roster. So I don't mind giving up what's projected to be the latest one. I would assume it would be yours if you're going to go out and buy a real stud or get a real upgrade. I think if Drake London pans out, then there's really not even much of a need to really. I mean, maybe you could go buy a running back, like we said. Yeah, just I think I'm a proponent of going out and getting it instead of saying, "Oh man, Deshaun Watson suspended, and I'm just gonna throw this year away and try to go out and get Bijan." Like, unless you start every the guys that are on your bench, you're not gonna go out and get the 101 next year. Like, unless you're just intentionally throwing out the worst possible team, there's no chance you're getting Bijan. So I wouldn't really throw away this season just for that one player when you have the chance to make the money this year.
Yeah, and I think if I could recommend one trade that's definitely not going to break the bank, but could really add a boost to this team instantly, Matt Ryan. He's going to be so cheap. He's going to be so cheap in a super flex league. You might be able to get him straight up for a second round pick. Even though he is old, I think he's 36. He's in a new system with Indianapolis. There has been not a single negative thing said about the guy since going to Indianapolis, and he's not being valued correctly in almost any dynasty league right now. So I think he's a very cheap acquisition that could transform this roster from potential contender to legitimate contender. And then if Trey Lance pans out, if Breece Hall pans out, even if Drake London pans out, you just might have the roster to beat this year. So just a
I
minor
would
move like that could really set you aside.
I would prefer to. I mean, this is kind of obvious, but I would prefer to honestly go out and maybe give 2 seconds for a guy like Matt Stafford or Aaron Rodgers. I don't think you'd have to pay more than 1 second for Tom Brady, but I think like a safer option like that would be a better bet when you're buying such an old quarterback. I think it's safer, and we know that those guys are going to be, top five, top six quarterbacks this year.
Oh no, by all means. I mean, if you can get those guys for good cost, obviously prioritize them. But I'm just saying, Matt Ryan, if you want quite literally the cheapest legitimate starting quarterback option in the entire NFL right now for Dynasty, I think it's going to be Matt Ryan. He's 100% cheaper than Rodgers and Brady. Definitely a lot cheaper than Stafford. So I don't know. It's a few things.
Yeah, for me, that doesn't give him a dominant enough room to win. I think if you're going to get Matt Ryan, I don't know if that pushes him over the edge, really, or if that's going to be too big of a gap from some of these teams. You got to think in a 10-man league, some of these guys are going to literally, like that mock we did, they're literally going to have Kyler and Lamar as their in their quarterback rooms. So I mean, that's what he's going to be having to compete with. We're hoping Trey Lance can be one of those, but yeah, overall, really a lot of assets on the team, and it's going to be hard to not succeed when similar to the last team that we did. It's going to be hard not to succeed when you have all those picks on your roster.
Yeah, this team is not going to have the number one overall. They're not going to have the number two overall. They might not even have the number three overall, even though it is 10-man. So I would just go for it. Go for it this year. Keep some of your 23 first, but hey, if it's going to give you a supremely elite roster, don't be afraid to spend them. I know a lot of people say they're untouchable, but 23 first will be there and gone within a few seasons. No matter how highly thought of a prospect is, they could always bust. Going out and getting those guaranteed commodities and getting your name on the trophy, more importantly, that's going to last forever, right? So do what you can to win. Get the money, get the trophy, do whatever you can, and have some fun with it. There's so many things you can do with this team. So it's stay active, stay vigilant, and just have fun with it. It's a really good team to start off with.
Yeah, I think that's ultimately it's a good point. I think that you made to have fun with it. It's a good thing to remember that fantasy football is about having fun. I think sometimes we get a little serious and robotic and computer like about Dynasty. And I mean, if you don't like the players that are on your roster, then go make lateral moves for names that you like better, that are going to make you happier to look at, if that's really what's going to make you happy at the end of the day.
Absolutely. And it's very easy to lose that thought when it comes to Dynasty, because you get so obsessed with having the youngest team, having the most draft picks, being the sleeper candidate to win the league or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's all about who has the best roster, and it's all about building a roster that you want to root for on Sundays. There's nothing more fun than turning on NFL Red Zone and rooting for your guys every Sunday, right? So get some guys that are going to be exciting for you this year, because you have all the firepower in the world to do it. But with that being said, Dunkin' Donut, shout out to you. Not Dunkin' Donuts, hashtag not a sponsor, but our Discord user, Dunkin' Donut. Thank you for submitting this team. It was a lot of fun. For the future, if any of you out there have a team that you want us to showcase, join our Discord. We have a channel for it, so you can go ahead and give us some background, put screenshots of your team, maybe a couple of trades that you've sent. I really like that Dunkin' Donut did that, so we had some trades to evaluate. But yeah, Tyler and I are very happy to make these videos, very happy to offer personalized advice and view things like this. So it's a lot of fun. we're having a lot of fun with it. So please join the Discord, submit more of these teams because I love doing these videos.
Yeah, we had fun with this one. Thank you for submitting, and yeah, like and subscribe, comment, join the Discord. It's fun there.
Exactly. So for myself, for Tyler, and for That Dynasty Show, we will see you next time.